So the recording has begun. So I'll start by going briefly through the agenda of today. So in the beginning, we will have a brief outline of the activities of EuroHPC Greece, the National Competence Center, and how this initiative can be useful to you. Then we'll have the main dish of the day with the presentation of the FF4EuroHPC initiative and the specifics of this second open call. Right after, we will have the opportunity for questions regarding the call. And we will continue with the presentation of EuroHPC joint undertaking. This is the European entity who coordinates all HPC-related activities in Europe. We'll have an overview of the European resources and services that will soon be available for the European industry. Finally, we'll have the opportunity to listen to real examples and success stories of experiments that have actually taken place in previous calls. One in the engineering domain, a project that has already been completed actually, and its impact, its industrial impact is ready to be presented. And one in the biomedical domain that has actually recently been approved in the previous call of January, and has recently started. So let's have a brief presentation of our National Competence Center. I will start with the mission statement. So EuroHPC Greece aims to be the single point of contact and coordination on a national level for HPC. The missions are to analyze, implement, and coordinate all necessary activities and offer services to end users, from access to resources and technological consultancy to the provision of training courses for academia, public administration, and industry. Actually, EuroHPC Greece is run by 5 institutions, and what I'm presenting today is the result of a collective work. The consortium is coordinated actually by GRNet. GRNet is the entity who actually is the owner of the national HPC infrastructure in Greece, the supercomputer ARIS, and is also the National Praise Training Center for HPC. And then the consortium is a strong network consisted by universities, technological institutions, as you see here, research institutions, and very important, a network of business hubs, an incubator, a technology transfer office, an innovation hub, and a network of thematic clusters. And this is very important because one of our main ambitions is the increase of HPC uptake by the Greek industry. Because actually, in the current situation, despite a significant usage of HPC resources by the academic and the research community, the industrial usage is rather poor, and we intend to change the situation. So our activities are related to 4 main pillars: training, competence mapping, collaboration with industry, and dissemination. Everything is being managed in a coordinated way and in cooperation and interaction with all the relevant public and private, national and international stakeholders. So what we offer, first of all, is training. Training is the most important entry point for accessing HPC resources. All users, that's what they tell us. So we have given the emphasis since the beginning to gather and present in the friendliest possible way the most relevant available training sources and opportunities in Greece and in Europe generally. So first of all, we have proceeded with a training mapping, which has concluded to a searchable repository, a training in Greece repository in all HPC related fields, in which through keywords or through filtering by domain, by course type, by institution, or sorting with multiple criteria, the interested user can find all kinds of relevant trainings in Greece. Actually, we have identified 421 relevant training programs These are mainly bachelor degree or master's degree, and a few summer schools, webinars, and also HPC specialized courses. Then in the website, you can find a collection of video lectures on HPC related topics. These lectures are coming from all sorts of training providers, from universities, HPC centers, vendors. The added value is that they are checked and they are approved by us as being very useful for users. Then on the side, you have also a section where you can discover upcoming training events all over Europe, delivered by praised training centers, by HPC centers, by centers of excellence. Then there is a section in which you can discover all kinds of training resources, online material, presentations, white papers. And there is a section that leads to all scientific publications coming from researchers and scientists in Greece that have actually used the Ares supercomputer infrastructure during the last years. And last but certainly not least, the most official training there is today on HPC in Greece is delivered by GRNet, by GRNet's role as an official praised training center. GRNet has been organizing this kind of trainings in this field for years now. These trainings cover both skills in HPC technologies, but also domain-specific specialized knowledge. The training sessions are held more or less every 2 months. They are hands-on. And of course, in the last couple of years, they are held online, so anyone can attend from anywhere. The language is English. And the topics in detail are, for the moment, introduction to parallel programming, GPU programming using CUDA, effective use of HPC systems, introduction to biomolecular modeling in HPC, machine learning in HPC, meteorological and climate modeling, and the list is about to be enlarged in the following years. At the same time, we ran a questionnaire, a survey, it's anonymous, to identify training needs. So in fact, we welcome you to fill it out in a few minutes. It will be a significant help for us in designing our next actions. It's about needs for training, I repeat, and you can find the questionnaire in the training area of the website. Now, in the competence mapping front, we are in the phase of running our overall competence needs and skills survey for all sectors, SMEs, academy, public sector, HPC users, providers, with different questions actually for each sector. This survey is very important to us. We already have a critical mass of answers, but we need much more in order to have a clear view of the current situation, the current status of the various needs and the existing skills. So please go to our site and fill it in. It's on the front page. And this survey also is very important to us. Then, of course, our main goal is to boost innovative SMEs for a more efficient uptake of HPC. In order to do that, we are building a service portfolio. For the moment, we're providing consultation on access to resources, on funding, on technology, and in this context, we are also providing in the context of facilitating access to funding and resources, and the context to facilitate collaborations between business and academy. We are organizing short events like this one. Actually, this is the second one. The first was addressed to the life sciences domain, together with our partner, the Business Network Praxi, and the two relevant clusters of innovative SMEs in the domain, the Hellenic Bio Cluster and the Hellenic Digital Health Cluster. There was a representation of CombioMed, the CombioMed Center of Excellence, What we did was to match together industrial users, startups, researchers, and HPC experts to share experiences, knowledge, best practices, and we also delivered training for basic notions of HPC. Then one more activity is to stimulate Greek SMEs to participate in consortia for access to funding, for instance, with this one, for instance, with the FF4EuroHPC initiative. And actually, in the first call on January, we managed to stimulate the submission of 3 proposals, out of which 2 were successful. One for a cancer drug accuracy and one for a pediatric simulated dosimetry for clinical use. Actually, the second one will be presented today. We'll come to this later. Finally, we're building a professionals hub, an online registry. This will act, we hope, as a marketplace where HPC experts, vendors, service providers, they can enter a description of their expertise or services, and potential users can search and find them via filters and keywords. This is still under construction, and we hope that in the next couple of months it will be available. Finally, regarding our activities for awareness and dissemination, we encourage you to visit our website. You will find a lot of useful information there. We encourage you to visit our social media channels, Twitter and LinkedIn. We encourage you by all means to subscribe to our newsletter. By subscribing, you become a recipient of the newsletter, which is published approximately every 2 months. So there's no spamming. But at the same time, you get to receive invitations to this kind of short events, always short because we know how time is precious for SMEs. They're addressed to researchers and innovative SMEs. Last, I will repeat how important it is for us that you fill in the needs and skills survey. And with this, I want to thank you. And I want to give the floor to Mr. Tommy Ilias, who, apart from being an excellent entrepreneur in cloud and high-performance computing himself, he represents today the FF4EuroHPC initiative and is going to give you the specifics of the second call. So Tommy, many thanks for giving this opportunity to Greek SMEs, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ilias, for a nice presentation, and thank you for inviting me to this event. So I would ask you to allow me to share the screen, so to give me the presenter rights. Yeah, I can do it. Great. I hope you see the screen.
Yes.
Great. Good. So Fortissimo for HPC, it's FF is for Fortissimo. It's the third project in a row of the very successful projects in the FP7 and Horizon 2020 program. So it's all about giving access or helping SMEs to scale up, to start using HPC. And this is very important for all of you who attend to apply for these calls. So you have to be newcomer in the field of high performance computing, and the essence of these calls is to bring you to the level where you can use HPC remotely with no problems and take advantage of it. So it's a Horizon 2020 project. As you see, it's 3 years of duration, and it's 10 million euros of budget, from which 8 million euros are dedicated to SMEs, so outside to the third parties. Coordinator is HLRS with Bastian Keller, Dr. Bastian Keller as a coordinator. And then you see partners beside Arctur. It's also Sesga from Spain, Cineca from Italy, Scapos, Germany, and Teletech from France. Good. So these are aims. And for you, it's very important to understand a couple of things. First one is we are searching for newcomers, innovations, innovative ways of using HPC. It is, how would I put it? We are searching for manufacturing SMEs, but also other SMEs are welcome, but they have to show the importance of what they do, the scale of the business, the scale, the impact of what they do if they are not in manufacturing. Good. By the way, you'll all have these slides, so you don't have to do screenshots, whatever, and you'll have access to these slides. So why use HPC in business? After more than 100 experiments in previous calls from Fortissimo, the picture was pretty much the same as this one. So most of them used HPC to reduce costs. The good example is, for example, crash test. If you do a crash test for the car physically, you know, you have to build a car, you have to crash it, bump it into the wall, measure it, and then again build it, you know, crash it to the wall, etc. You can easily do this with simulation. And not only the construction simulation, but there are like hundreds of simulations now running for the human body, for all sorts of other physical phenomena which occurs in the crash. The second, it's a return of investment. So using HPC shortens and improves the return of investment when you do this. Of course, time to solution is very important. Using HPC, you can get to the result much faster than doing other experimental or whatever you do processes development. And there is a every year bigger and bigger amount of problems, of experiments, of businesses, which cannot be solved by any other means than high performance computing. So the good case is like artificial intelligence, or I don't know, big data analytics, or some other complex simulations of, I don't know, ocean or waves or meteorological or bio medicine, etc., etc. So it's all sorts of let's say problems you can use. So we are searching for high quality, innovative, agile SMEs. You have to prove that you are a newcomer. Please do not, for all of you who already got some funding from national or, I don't know, European projects to scale up in HPC, or for all of you who are already working on HPC field, you'll get very low score from the evaluators if you apply to this course. So newcomers, welcome. Right? This doesn't mean that you don't have to show that you're doing the simulations. If you're doing simulations locally, like on your desktops or local servers, it's okay, because you have to scale up. You have to, you know, increase you have to scale up in a sense of the computation resources. Good. Some data about the first call. You see, these were applicants from 25 European countries. Of course, there are big countries leading as always, like Spain, Italy, Germany, etc. But there are all sorts of other countries, and these were the sectors from where, or the technology used in these proposals. So finite elements, you see coupled simulations, machine learning, CFD, etc., etc. These are very, very interesting data to show. 16 proposals were selected for funding. In the first call, we had 3 million euros, and as you see in the second call, we will use the rest of the 8 million, so 5 million euros. It's usually, you know, the consortia consists of 2, 3, even 4 or more partners, but the core partner is always SME. The leading partner should be SME, who is also the beneficiary. You know, we are focusing on SME, and other partners are like helping SME to grow, to scale up in the level, in the sense of the high performance computing. So usual partners are universities or competence centers, other HPC centers who can help SMEs to scale up, domain experts, software vendors or software experts, etc., etc. So you can build around the SME, you can build other partners if you need them, of course. Of course, in such a small projects as these are, I'm talking about 200,000 euros, it's better not to exaggerate with partners, because, you know, more partners means more problems, more reporting, etc. Good. So there are differences between this call and the previous one. So the very important is that we focus more on manufacturing. And the second one, or the first one, is we want a broader geographical distribution of participants. So Greece was very, very, very successful in the first call, thanks to Ilias and his team, and a very, very good support, and the also awareness among Greek SMEs. So you are among those countries who will not have rights to be in the special niche where we are searching for newcomers from other countries. This doesn't mean still it's 3 million euros there for all the rest. So go for it, fight. You prove that you are very, very good in these calls. So still, I would like to encourage you to apply. So what do we expect? You know, again, build your consortia accordingly. Don't take care that you have all the expertise needed within the consortia. You know that outsourcing is, I would rather not to see this outsourcing. Bring the partner in if you need the expertise. Define the resources very well, and take care. Core partners of FF4EuroHPC, we are not able, we cannot provide you computing resources, and there are some, well, this is the difference between the previous two projects, but this is quite the same in the first call. Take care about data protection and data information access issues. Write some chapter about this, and think about sorry. Okay. Think about dissemination of your results, because we would like to see once you become a success story for FF4EuroHPC success story, we would like that you disseminate this your case, and you talk about this and then the other SMEs see this, and we raise the awareness about HPC in this kind. So put some effort here as well, and write it. Write down what you are gonna do, right, with this. So these are key call details. You have plenty of time. It's end of September. There are 10 pages of the proposal, but please don't start writing 15th of September, because in the last 2 weeks, even us, we are very busy and answering to hundreds of questions, and some of them are like very naive, etc. Please start before, and then take your time the last few weeks. There will be a lot of competition, and very good competition, so you have to file the very excellent proposal. So this is so important. So we have 5 million euros, as I said, and I will and there is one more very important thing. So the maximum budget, of course, is 200K. Please do not exceed this. This is very important. But even more important is that each partner's budget don't go over beyond 150K. So we had many cases, many excellent proposals in the first call where some partners went over 150K, and they had to be rejected because you are third parties. You are going to be third parties to the Fortissimo project, and these are European Commission rules that third parties in Horizon 2020 cannot be funded more than 150K. For all of you who are reapplying, and for example, if you got if you were awarded in a first call, you can apply again, especially universities, etc. You can apply again as a co-partner with other SMEs. But important is that you do care about your budget. So in total, combining these two winning projects or two experiments, your budget cannot go over 150K. So take care of this. Good. So evaluation criteria remains the same. It's always the same. You have these 4, from which first the impact is doubled. It has weight of 2. So in total there is 25 points, and we could expect that the winning experiments, winning applications in this call will have to have more than 20 points. So excellent proposals will be awarded. Good. You see, you have part A, part B. Part B 10 pages. Please do not go beyond that limit. There is 2-phase process. First of all, we will select proposals from the countries, from the states which were not yet funded. So you see, Greece is among the partners, among the countries which were selected already in the first phase. So you will all go to the second phase, where we have around 3 million euros. Good, and then all the rest is the same. Good. So this is a process. It's quite straightforward. We use external experts for this, and the selection process can take a couple of months, of course, because there are many evaluators evaluating many proposals, and it's a hard work, believe me. and then you get awarded, and then as you see, you start working on experiment. You see again, 150k euros. Do not forget this. It's very sad to see an excellent proposal with such a mistake inside, because we have to reject it. It's no other mean. We cannot call, guys, please remove this or something. We have to be very careful about this. So that's it. I'm open for your questions, and as mentioned, you will get the link to this PowerPoint presentation if you want to see it again. Thank you very much. I have to stop sharing. Good. Okay, and then success stories. Okay, yeah, go through success stories, please. Go through success stories and check whether your case is similar to other success stories which were already funded. And this is all on the web page of the EuroHPC. Good. So thank you very much. I would like to stop sharing, but sorry, I'm on the laptop.
So Good. This is the time for questions.
Yes, please.
Okay, I will start with a question. Actually, two questions. First of all, if international consortia are preferable, if they get a positive, and then how often and for how long will the calls be launched? And will there be, after a certain time, an interaction, a connection with the new European resources available for the European industry?
It is. I didn't get the second question. So this is the last call, right? So the second call is the last call within this project. So was this a question, or I didn't get it properly?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm asking if for the next years there will be calls for SMEs in some, fortissimo or for Europe in some way. There will be a continuation of stimulating industry and give funding.
Well, in Fortissimo, we will have to apply for another project, obviously, because this one is going to end. We just have 2 open calls in this project. So this is the second one and the last one. We will spend all the money. So yeah, I hope, because this model, it's many times it's called as a Fortissimo model. I hope it will be used on a national and European level again within EuroHPC program, because it was successful and it's still very successful project, because you have to have SMEs to scale up, because it's a market failure out there, and you have to give some incentives, help them, because if not, the burden going up in the HPC, it's too much for SMEs. But once you do this, you will get the return as a country, as a European Union. You'll get the return many times, because these are very, very successful companies at the end. Yeah. Sorry, Elias, I forgot your last question.
Yeah, the question was actually this question that you just answered. Perhaps our next speaker can have an idea about this, if there will be a continuation, in giving incentives to SMEs. So the first question was if international consortia, consortia that the SME and the HPC experts or the ISV provider come from different countries, if this will get a positive, if it's preferable.
There were many experiments in the past as well with international consortia, but it's not specially awarded. because this criteria of the countries who were not awarded yet, it's only for SMEs. So, for example, if you take a Greek SME and German and French universities, it still counts as a Greek experiment. But if you have Greek universities or other, I don't know, institutes, etc., and I don't know, Bulgarian or Slovenian SME, then it counts as a Bulgarian or Slovenian experiment. So the important is who is the beneficiary, who is the leading partner, which is always an SME. So this counts. And but please feel free to choose partners from all eligible countries within Horizon 2020 program. I hope I
thank you, Tommy. Yes, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
So are there any more questions? Right. So thank you very much, Tommy.
Thank you very much, Ilias, and have a nice time. I have to run to another meeting, and have a good time and apply. Go for it. We are looking forward for your experiments. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. So in that case, I will give the floor to Mr. Evangelos Floros, who is a program officer infrastructure at the EuroHPC joint undertaking in Luxembourg, and is going to give us an overview of the European resources soon to be available for the European industry. The floor is yours, Evangelos.
Mr. Hatzaki, thank you very much for the introduction. So good morning all, good morning. It's good to be here among old colleagues. So as Elias said, I'm going to give a presentation regarding the EuroHPC. Let me share my screen here. So I don't usually use GoTo, so I hope this will work now. I guess you can see my screen all fine?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So good morning. So this is a presentation about the EuroHPC, what it is, and the infrastructure, the HPC infrastructure that we are building, and some hints how to get access. I mean, you saw the presentation from Fortissimo. This is more a presentation of the agency funding Fortissimo, and also the infrastructure that your application should be able to run in the coming periods. So first of all, what is EuroHPC? I'm not sure if people here in the meeting is familiar with our agency. So essentially, EuroHPC is a joint undertaking. This is a legal entity that was coined by the Commission back in 2018 in order to coordinate essentially all the activities related to high-performance computing in Europe. And if we want to use business terms, the JU is kind of a spin-off of the Commission. Commission has 50% of the voting rights, and the rest of the stakeholders are participating states from all over Europe, which are member states of the Union plus affiliated states. And we have two private members, it's the ETP4HPC and BDVA. So we have two pillars of activities. One is to fund and support research and innovation applications and development of skills in Europe. Essentially, we took over all the work from the Commission, from DigiConnect that was doing for HPC, and now we have it under our umbrella. But also, apart from grants and funding, we are buying systems. We are deploying infrastructure. We're building supercomputers, And this is also an important aspect. And actually, this is my main job here in the JU, to help with the development of the infrastructure, participate in procurements, and so on. But also, in addition, by the way, I'm also the policy officer of EuroHPC, so it's good to see that the Greek partner is doing these initiatives, and I'm happy to help and participate. In any case, so initially, as I said, the EuroHPC was set up in 2018 with more or less a budget of 1.5 billion euro. 50% more or less, which is provided by the Union, by the Commission, and 50% is contributions from the participating states. So you can see also all the map of all the member states, the countries currently participating, and so in the procurement side, which was the build of the infrastructure, the initial goal was to procure 8 systems, 8 supercomputers, 3 top range, 3 so-called pre-exascale systems, and 5 mid-range systems, smaller, so-called petascale systems. And this is the status. In order to set up this infrastructure, first of all, the JU sought for 8 hosting entities, 8 supercomputing centers who would take the responsibility to actually host the systems and to operate them. The 3 pre-exascale systems that we are building had a minimum performance target of 150 petaflops. These systems are owned by the JU, so it's our property essentially. And we fund 50% of the CapEx and the OpEx, so all the acquisition and the operation costs of the systems. And the rest 50% is provided by the hosting entities, which are consortia of countries, in most cases not just one country, but especially for the pre-exascale systems are consortia that are contributing to the budget. Now we're also procuring 5 petascale systems, which in the end right now they have a performance of 4 to 12 petaflops. These are owned by the JU. We just paid 35% of the acquisition, and the rest of the capex and the operations are provided by the hosting entity itself. So these 8 systems, the 3 pre-exascale are located in Spain, Barcelona, in Barcelona Supercomputing Center, in Italy, in Bologna, in Cineca, and the last one is in Finland. It's operated by CSC and is installed in a small town on the middle of Finland called Kajaani. The 5 petascale systems are located in Portugal. There is one here in Luxembourg, where also the JU is located, Czech Republic, Slovenia, and the last one in Bulgaria. So these procurements ran in the previous year. We managed to conclude 7 out of the 8. We have signed contracts and are currently either under implementation or have been already accepted and they are operational. And there is only one procurement that the governing board of the JU in the end decided to cancel and to relaunch it with updated specifications. This is the system in Barcelona, which we expect to launch the new procurement by the end of this year. In any case, the total value of the contracts signed so far is around 360 million euro, of which the JU and the Union essentially have provided 163.3 million. Now, regarding the availability of the systems, as I said, we are still in the process of installation. Some systems have already arrived. So we already have, for example, the Vega system, which is located in Slovenia. This is an Atos Bulsicoana system, 6.9 petaflops, which is operational since April. and it's available. You will see later that you can already access it for development or benchmark. For each system, I have provided the total aggregated performance. These systems have typically comprise of different partitions with CPUs, GPUs for different kind of applications and requirements. But what you see in the end is the combined number of the petaflops. And also for the 4 systems that already are more or less operational, we have the top 500 numbers for each partition that contributes to top 500. So Vega is already here, and now we are waiting for Meluxina, Carolina, and Discoverer, which are Atos, Bull, Sequana, and the HP Apollo systems, the Carolina in Czech Republic, that are in the really final stages of acceptance. There are some minor configurations take place in this at the moment. So by the end of July, all these 3 systems should be operational. Now, from the petascale systems, the last one that we are it's arriving a bit later is the system in Portugal called Callion. This is an interesting system because it is based on ARM processors. We like to call it as the mini Fugaku. Fugaku is the fastest supercomputer right now in Japan that is has been built by Fujitsu with in-house developed ARM processors. So this system should be available by the end of December, providing some diversity in the architecture. So the other systems are x86 based with GPUs. And now our flagship systems are Lumi and Leonardo. Lumi is the system located in Finland. This will be in the end a 375 petaflop aggregated system, an HP Cray EX system. This is split in 2 parts, in 2 partitions, the Lumi C and the Lumi G. Lumi C is the CPU-based partition, and the Lumi G is the large GPU-based partition that is going to rely on AMD GPUs. All the other systems will rely on NVIDIA GPUs for the GPU partition. So the first part of Lumi should be available in the beginning of November, and the Lumi G, we expect it, the acceptance to take place in March 2022. Leonardo will come a bit later. This is an Atos Bull Sequana big system, around 250 petaflop, also comprising 1 big GPU module called here booster module, which should be operational by January, February 2022. And the final slightly smaller partition, which is called the data-centric general purpose, it's only CPU-based, that is expected around May, early beginnings of summer 2022. So the question is now how you people, how SMEs and how users around Europe can get access to the systems. So this is defined by a document called the EuroHPC Access Policy for the EuroHPC systems, which has been adopted back in March by the governing board, which lays down the principles of how users can request access. To be clear, this, according to this policy and according to our mandate as a GEU, the access is provided for free for open research and development to science, industry, and the public sector. Industry, including, of course, SMEs, and there is a major focus on SMEs here. This access policy defines 6 access modes. And the access modes more or less define how many resources you can get, how many CPU hours, GPU hours, how large of a storage is available for application, for how long time you get access to the system. The large calls are the extreme scale and the regular calls. These two, the processes that the users submit proposals that go through a peer review process. They are ranked, and the best proposals get time and access to the system. But also there is a possibility for development and benchmark access. And these are for a smaller amount of resources, and they are focused basically on offering resources to users to develop their codes, to benchmark their applications. And benchmarking of applications is necessary before submitting an application for the high-level calls of extreme scale and regular scale. You need to have ported your applications in one of the systems to have a run scalability test to know how well your application scale, and to then to submit this information for the extreme scale and regular access code. Also, we foresee fast-track access for industry and academia. These are calls that also have a very lightweight process for evaluation. And this is targeting for applications that already have run in the past, have completed, but would like to get quickly access to run some fine-tuning, some additional tests, some runs, and to avoid going through all the process again. So we foresee also calls for edge and emergency computing access, provide access time for strategic initiative projects, but these are decided by the governing board. It's an internal process. Now, for these processes, we use Praise. We work together with Praise to design the access policy and also now to implement it. Praise, for those who are not familiar, is the initiative in Europe that is responsible for managing the access to the high-level supercomputers in Europe, now provided by Germany, Italy, Spain, Switzerland. And it's been running for many years, and it made sense that we work together to capitalize on their knowledge, on their infrastructure in order to run these calls. Now, this is the reason why you will find information for our calls in the Praise website. Right now, we have the calls open for benchmark and development access for the Vega system only, for the 3 partitions provided by Vega. Very soon, we are going to open it also for Meluxina, Carolina, and Discover, so our additional resources will be available. I hope within August, people will be able to apply. But also, we are preparing the regular access call for these 4 systems, which is aiming high scalability applications. This will pass through a peer review process and will open mid-September and will close end of October. Open, of course, for industry, for SMEs, essentially all institutes, organizations coming from Horizon 2020 member state or affiliated state are eligible to submit proposals and get access. So this is where we're going to publish also the regular access call. We are working right now on the fine details of the calls, the process for evaluation, the ranking, the marks, the same way as Tom Elias presented you how the applications for Fortissimo are scored and ranked. There will be a similar process, and the documentation for that and all information will be available on the Praise website, and you should be checking for this in September. So these are the information regarding supercomputers and how you get access to them. Now, in EuroHPC also we fund grants. There is some information here about the total budget we have allocated for supporting various grants. I think EuroHPC and Fortissimo are one of the key projects currently we are funding. I think the other important information is that the JU has recently had a new regulation we just passed from the European Council a few days ago, which has extended our lifetime till 2033, but also has extended our mandates to include also things like quantum computing, federated services, and access to systems. But most importantly, we have an updated budget, which right now are around 7 billion. So this is a considerable increase of the budget. from 4 different funding instruments: Horizon Europe, Digital Europe Program, Connecting Europe Facility, and the Recovery and Resilience Facility. And this budget is aiming these 5 different pillars that you see on the slides. From the infrastructure point of view, we are continuing to invest and to build new supercomputers. We are aiming for exascale level systems, at least 2 of them, to start the procurement in 2023. Also a number of mid-range systems, 4 to 5, depending on the budget and in the end of the interest from participating states to actually procure and operate supercomputers in their countries. But also we are going to procure quantum computers, also to be available for the public. And there are plans for industry-oriented supercomputers. These are a bit vague at the moment, but the idea is that one of the supercomputers we're going to procure is going to be dedicated only for industrial applications. So this is it from me. Many thanks for your attention. This is our website where you should be able to find more of this information. And I guess I remain to your disposal for any questions you may have.
Yes, this is the time for questions. Okay, I will go with a question again. So, Vangeli, you said that there will be free access for open research.
Yes.
So even if it comes from an industrial user, if it will be published, will be a scientific publication, then it's free. Right. Okay.
Yes, correct.
Perfect.
And well, there is one catch here. There is also within our mandates in the regulation, it is foreseen that we will provide also access to maximum 20% of the resources for commercial access, which in simple terms means we're going to use pay per usage model and actually sell cycles and CPU hours to whoever needs it for civilian applications. So this, of course, covers not only open research and development, but also research and development of products for profit, closed research. But this is still under development, let's say. We are a bit far from there yet. There are many implications and things to consider. But there is a great push from the Commission to implement this kind of service. It remains in the new regulation. So I hope by beginning of 2022 to have more information and a better understanding essentially how this will be implemented.
Right, this is very important for us for 2 reasons. First of all, because at the time at the RS supercomputer, there is no access for industrial users. And then what you say about resources being available very soon, it's very important because RS supercomputer is somehow saturated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially for people interested in benchmarking for development, right now it's really fast to get access. You just submit an application quickly describing what you need for, or what is the code you are going to run, and in 2 weeks essentially you have a response. There is only one quick technical review taking place by the hosting entity, just verifying that this application is appropriate for running in their system. There is an eligibility check to see that essentially you're located in Europe, in a member state. And other than that, you get access for 3 months to 1 year for development. So any other question, Ilya? Any? I don't hear anything. Either there's no question or I have lost cuts with you.
I guess we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
Good. Ilya, if there is no other question, I guess I can leave the floor for the next presentation.
Evangelis, I think maybe Elias has a problem with the network because I see that he's logged out somehow, or there's something wrong with his network maybe.
Okay. Somebody else will take over.
Yeah, I guess I'm the next one on the list. So if everybody agrees, I will take an executive decision and go on.
Elias just informed us that he has a problem with the current in his at home. So please take the floor, Alessandro.
Okay, hi everyone. Well, first of all, thanks for the invitation. My name is Alessandro Lai and I'm the head of R&D at Optimad Engineering. Today, I want to share with you my experience in a previous call of Fortissimo dated back to 2014. I will share my screen. Let me know if you can see anything. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I don't know if you ever heard about Optimad. I guess not, but Optimad is an SME from northern Italy. We were born as a spin-off company from Polytechnic of Torino in 2008. We started as a company for customized R&D activities in the field of scientific computing. Now we are an independent software vendor, though we still have a division for consultancy and customized R&D. In 2014, we participated to Fortissimo together with University of Strathclyde, Cineca as the HPC provider, and Automobili Lamborghini. I guess they don't need introduction. And our experiment was named South, Shape Optimization under Uncertainty through HPC Cloud, and was focused on shape optimization problem for automotive. So I will quickly give you an overview of the scenario we found back then, because few years have passed. So during our R&D activities for our clients, they are both SME or large industry, we noticed that although simulation and analysis were part of routine tasks, optimization was not. And then the reason for that, I believe, was already summarized this morning in the first presentation by Tommy, is because in-house optimization is basically very cost inefficient, because you need very specialized people who are not just proficient in KI software, but they also need to have a very strong background in optimization to set up a proper, fully automated workflow for the optimization. Then they need to be expert, let me say, in IT, because optimization, especially large scale problems, require a tight coupling between CAD, KI, and optimization software. And then there is the problem of actually implementing this fully automated workflow, which is still troublesome. And then on top of that, you actually have the cost of the optimization itself, because usually optimization, at least in the automotive or aerospace industry, they require what is called the full body simulation, which are quite expensive. Few hundred hours of simulation of CPU hours if you are lucky. And you probably need hundreds, if not thousands, of those simulations to perform a complete optimization task. And then you have, of course, all the costs of your in-house computing infrastructure, and then licensing. I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with licensing from commercial software. Basically, they are either floating or not locked, but basically you need to buy a license for each computational node. So for an optimization job, which might involve several computational nodes, you might spend quite a lot of money on licensing. So if you do the math, at the end, you can see that the return of the investment, it's only guaranteed if you do standard analysis task. Otherwise, it's actually quite a high cost. And so in the end, what we noticed that almost 10% of industries, they do actually perform optimization jobs. And by the way, this is very close to the number that was reported by this morning by Tommy of 8% of users. Probably his number is more accurate because now a few years has passed since we began this process. So what we noticed in our client is that they perform pseudo optimization, which we like to call man in the loop optimization, which basically is to start from an old product based on the analysis and their know-how, they decide some improvements based on heuristics or know-how based consideration, then perform again another loop of analysis. And then in the end, after one, maybe two iterations, they choose the most promising configuration among the ones that were tested, which clearly it's not very efficient from time and costs point of view. And also you end up with suboptimal solution, which is definitely a problem for competitiveness. So we identified as a market for our proposal, basically all the SME which don't have a strong background in optimization, or maybe they don't have a very large engineering department, so they cannot actually afford the personal cost to train people in optimization, but also large industry, because they might have HPC infrastructure in-house, but there is a lot of competition to access the infrastructure, because we don't have to forget that optimization jobs are usually peak requirements for your computing infrastructure. Basically, that means that your HPC facility are sized for analysis task. And optimization, it's actually quite demanding. And so as an effect of disrupting the schedule, you have to put on pause all the other analysis jobs. So it's quite disruptive in general on the schedule of even for large industry. So overall, we estimated that then this market would be between €1.25 billion, which is worldwide, of course, which is quite significant. So we came up with this idea of basically creating a platform which would offer a completely automated workflow for the shape optimization problem, where basically all the IT related aspects will basically handled in a complete transparent way. So an end user, even an end user with small background or little background in optimization, could set up very easily an optimization job, just uploading geometries, choosing a few parameters, and that's it. The whole deployment on the HPC infrastructure would be handled by this platform, and all the software, the KI tools, would be already integrated in this platform. And interestingly, we also devised a technical solution, because as you know, during optimization job, you might want to use low fidelity models to speed up the optimization. And this is quite tricky, especially for inexperienced user, because depending on how you choose this low-fi model, you can get up with very good or horrible optimization result. So we basically employed machine learning. Back then, very few people were talking about machine learning application, basically to select this low-fi model behind the back of the final user. And so for us, HPC wasn't just a way of running several simulations in parallel, but it was also a way to train this machine learning model to do this very, very specialized and complex task. Our idea was basically that at the end user would have no amortization costs or costs related to computing infrastructure whatsoever. Our end user, Lamborghini, estimated that more or less 75% of time would be saved. And they estimated also a cost saving around 30%, which comes not just from saving money from amortization costs for the computational infrastructure, but also because the idea of the platform was to be fully automated, so they could basically allocate people from the various very tedious and laborious tasks of setting up computation for this man-in-the-loop optimization, and they could move these people to very high added value activities. And then, of course, we wanted to make this platform open and accessible, because we do recognize that different industrial actors, they use different KAE or simulation tools, so we wanted them the choice of adding these tools, their tool of choice within this platform. For us as an independent software vendor, we saw an opportunity to scale our business, because as probably many of you know, consultancy is not very scalable as a business. And we were, back then, we were basically facing several competing ESV from the optimization side, Mod Frontier, Optimus, iChrome, from CFD, StarCCM+, Fluent, and from CAD point of view, SolidWorks, but of course there are many others. We also identified some weakness in our proposal, because when you put up a fully automated workflow, you completely, well, the end user lose complete control on what's happening at the smallest, let me say, smallest granular scales. Plus, back then, there was no idea of deploying this platform on hybrid clouds. And then we recognize a psychological barrier, because the idea was to sell the service as a software as a service. So basically, the end user would have paid upfront, would have paid an access token, and then would have been charged by the hour, CPU hours. And then we were scared that the user might see an immediate cash flow related to the simulation jobs, the optimization jobs that were running at that very moment, as opposed to the amortization costs from an in-house infrastructure, which are basically, they are not an immediate cash flow. So I will talk more about this more later in the impact section, because this actually, this weakness caused us a lot of troubles, but I will spend more words on that later. So at the end, what we deployed and we developed between this experiment was this platform, which had an abstraction layer where basically we implemented the whole optimization tool chain, integrating different KAE, CAD, and optimization tools. We used the multi-fidelity approach, and the interesting technical part is using machine learning to guess the low fidelity model based on the few optimization settings that the user would provide to us. And this part was developed by the Strathclyde University. So I will go very quickly through the technical details, because that's not the main focus of this presentation. If you are curious and you have questions, please ask afterwards. We run with different experiments, which are pretty common benchmarks in the optimization, shape optimization community in the automotive, like the windshield for bike, the helmet, the classical test case of the helmet for bike, in order to reduce the drag force acting on the whole system. And we also performed some quite challenging simulation, like the one you see here in this slide, because this is actually a multi-objective optimization. Instead of trying of improving the aerodynamic efficiency of the front part of the car, we do actually run a multi-objective simulation, try at the same time to maximize the downforce acting on the front part of the car while minimizing at the same time the drag coefficient. And this test case is quite challenging because it requires quite a lot of computation. And then what is remarkable beyond the fact that we actually managed to produce a very nice Pareto front where you can see all the result in the feasibility region based on the constraint that we set for this test case, is that our platform would grant us a speed up of almost 8 times with respect to a standard optimization job. And for this specific test case, the machine learning model choose a proper orthogonal decomposition method as a surrogate model, which also require to build a database of snapshots, which are then used during the optimization. And if we consider this database creation, which is quite intensive from computational point of view, we still get with this factor 8 in the speed up. And if you reuse this database, you would end up with speed up of 45 times, which is quite big. So basically, at the end, this whole optimization jobs was running almost for little more than 4 days on 320 cores at Cineca, which is absolutely compliant with the typical times even for large industry. And then, of course, we had our test case with our industrial partner. This one was about maximizing the downforce acting on the front car of a Lamborghini Aventador, which, as you know, is very important part of designing the aerodynamic design, because this car, they usually have the engine located in the back of the car, their rear traction, so it's very important to guarantee some adherence in the front part of the car. So at the end, we managed to get very interesting results. And so now is the part that probably is more interesting for you, which is what happened next. So our initial goal for this experiment was to reach a technology readiness level between 8 and 9. So basically, we wanted to be on the market short after the end of this experiment. What we managed to achieve is actually TRL around 7, so we are not still there. And the reason for that is because many of those critical aspects we identified in the very beginning of our proposal were actually, I wouldn't say quite blocking, but they were major obstacles for us. First of all, the integration between different CAD tools proved more difficult. And that's, I believe, it's due to marketing and commercial strategy of the biggest software vendor, which they usually sell suite of software. So that exchange between software within the same suite is very easy. But our industrial customer, they usually use software for complete different software vendors. So somehow this data exchange is made difficult. Then the licensing model, we couldn't manage to get an agreement with some major software vendor of licensing per hour rather than per computational node. And then, of course, we could have fallen back on open source software, which is cool. We like open source software because we Optima developed an open source library for scientific computing. The problem is that especially large industrial partners, they use their software, they validated those software on their application, they spend quite a lot of time and money to validate the software, so they are not willing to switch back to open source software, which sometimes they don't have the customer care you can pretend when you are paying for the software, and also they would force them to revalidate the entire simulation chain. Then the fully automated workflow proved to be more difficult, mostly because automatic mesh generation and because sometimes simulation software are built around completely different ideas and design paradigm, And so even if they would make easy to exchange data, sometimes the data that needs to be exchanged by the software is completely different. And then with also another barrier, which is basically each optimization problem is quite unique. Sometimes they're very challenging. So even if the users would like to have a fully automated workflow, they sometimes need to have full control. And so, of course, we could fall back on implementing different pipelines and specializing each optimization pipeline, targeting a specific application, but this is not scalable from independent software vendor because we would end up with dozens of variants of the same software with just a slight variation, which is clearly not very cost efficient. And then most importantly, we hit the psychological barrier I was talking to you before, which is basically convince an end user to spend order of 10K euros to run a full optimization job, which might seem a lot because a lot of time the main objection is that they could use their in-house computational facility for free. But this is actually a non-argument because even in-house computational facility are not for free because you have maintenance cost, amortization cost, this cost in their cost coming from disruption of schedule of activities. So those are kind of hidden costs that you don't see immediately because you are not paying from your pocket that amount of money. And so you are tricked into belief that actually you are not spending anything to run those simulation jobs using your in-house computational facility, while instead it's actually the opposite. The smaller is your computational facility in-house, the more you are paying. And then, of course, for larger industry, there were the issue with data security, but this is already this concept were already mentioned this morning in the first presentation. So since we foreseen these problems, we prepared ourselves some backup strategy from industrial point of view. So right now, even though we are not on the market as with this platform, we are still offering services with this platform, and it's actually going pretty good because we managed to create a new partnership with Nolan Group Racing, of course, Lamborghini. We create a new partnership with Rolls-Royce, not in the automotive, but the aeronautic engine division for the optimization of turbine blades. And we are also selling sort of a hybrid business model. We are selling this platform to our large industrial user. So we go there, we install this software on their computational facility. And what's actually happened and wasn't foreseen is that when we presented around the solution, one of our major competitor was actually very interested in this solution, so decided to invest some money in our company. So basically, at the end of the day, between the new stream of revenues coming from services and this private funding, we are basically keep going on developing this solution, and hopefully we want to get on the market quite soon. And that's, I believe, close my presentation. Thanks for your attention. If you have questions, please come forward. I will be happy to answer all your questions.
So thanks a lot, Alessandro. This was very
problem. Thanks for
There
your. I'm sorry. Come again?
No, I'm just asking if there are any questions about it. So again, thank you very much. And so then I will pass the floor to Mr. Panagiotis Papadimitroulas, who is a co-founder of BioNTech, and he will present the experience of a successful submission in the first call, in the call of January for an experiment on pediatric simulated dosimetry platform for clinical use. The floor is yours, Monica.
Thank you, Elias. Thank you. Thanks for this invitation. Let me share the screen. I hope you see. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I will move now to another field in the medical field after the interesting presentation from Alessandro. Well, my name is Panagiotis Papadimitroulas, and I'm the project director at BioMTech. And recently we have applied and we were successful in the FF4EuroHPC call with the experiment called TEDDYDOSE. It has to do with a pediatric simulated dosimetry platform for clinical use. Well, a little bit of the background of myself. I'm a medical physicist, and I finished my master's and my PhD in the University of Patras, where I was involved with the evaluation of medical, clinical, and preclinical protocols in nuclear medicine with the use of computational models and Monte Carlo simulations. After 2013, we co-founded the BioMTech, and since then I'm the project director there. And coming to the company now, BioMTech is in the field of molecular imaging, biotechnology, biomedical engineering, and dosimetry. The main activities are discriminated, let's say, in three main axes. The first one is the design and construction of imaging devices for preclinical uses. The second one is that we can offer services for preclinical in vivo imaging studies using our laboratories and our imaging platform in Democritus. And the last one, which is related to this call and to this experiment, is our expertise regarding the Monte Carlo simulations in combination with artificial intelligence techniques using anthropomorphic computational models. Regarding our experience with HPC, we are not IT experts. I just had an experience 10 years ago with an access in the HPC Europa 2 call, and I gained access during my PhD in the Mare Nostrum HPC Center. It is in Barcelona. It was mentioned in a presentation before, and there I realized the need of the Monte Carlo simulations that need very large computational resources, and this was the reason that we asked for access in this center. After that, in the company, we had a small experience in HPC resources using the Greek National Center, the ARIS, from GRNet. And it was an application in the first pilot call that was released, where industries and SMEs could apply for accessing these resources. Regarding our activity in the company, I would like to give you an overview of the problem and what we are going to address using the HPC resources. Probably you know that in nuclear medicine procedures, all these procedures involve radioactivity. It means that a patient has a radiopharmaceutical inside his body, and it starts emitting activity. It can be harmful, and it can lead to and it can lead to cancer. The estimations of dosimetry, it means that the absorbed dose, the dose of radioactivity inside the different organs within the body is done, it cannot be done experimentally. So Monte Carlo simulations are used for these purposes, and they are considered to be the gold standard. And the major problem comes when we are moving to pediatric, to children, where the calculations there are very rough, and the protocols for dosimetry are very rough because they are based to adults, and they are scaled in order to do the measurements for the children. So there is the need a very big need in the community for optimizing the pediatric dosimetry protocols, taking into account the personalized characteristics of the patients. As I told you, the simulations, the Monte Carlo simulations, are considered to be the ground truth for dosimetry, and they are used for many, many years, more than 40 years. These techniques are applied in medical physics domain, and the current protocols that are applied in pediatric dosimetry are based on these rescaled calculations, which were done with very simple phantoms and need to be optimized. So our idea is to develop a new software tool, an innovative tool, which could be used for clinical use, and it could be a decision support tool for the clinicians. It will take into account the personalization. It means the specific characteristics, the anatomical characteristics of each patient. And this methodology has been previously developed and accepted in a Horizon 2020 project. But what we need to do this is, of course, the Monte Carlo tool, which is validated in order to model very accurately the physical models regarding the irradiation. We need advanced, accurate computational anthropomorphic models. It means that we need computational 3D models of patients in order to mimic the anatomy of the real patients, and it is something that they are already available. And of course, these simulations are very, very demanding in terms of computational time. So HPC is appropriate to implement such demanding simulations. So the goal is to develop a tool with a graphical user interface, very easy to be used by clinicians, and to develop a database that will run behind the GUI, the software. And of course, machine learning algorithms are going to be trained in this simulated database in order to finally have a prediction model for a new patient. It means that when a new patient is going to visit a hospital, a child, he could predict the absorbed dose that the patient is going to receive. The methodology is based more or less on what I have already mentioned. We are going to simulate many different cases of patients virtual patients, 3D patients, with a variety of radiopharmaceuticals in order to create a large dosimetry database, and then it is going to be used by artificial intelligence in order to have a prediction model. So having this in mind, and our idea in order to develop this software tool, we noticed the first call of the FF4EuroHPC, and I put here in this slide some phrases directly from the call. It was mentioning that excuse me, what I have. Okay, it mentioned that running high-resolution simulations, doing large-scale data analysis, or incorporating AI applications into SMEs workflows. It means that when I noticed this, I felt that okay, this goal is perfect for our need and what we aim to do. Let's try. And in the following sentence, you can see that it was focused, the call to SMEs, in order to do innovative solutions in terms of products and etc. For business benefit. So, moving on to the application process, from my experience, I could say that it was very simple. The submission proposal is 10 pages, and what we had to do is to clearly define our problem and how we were going to use the HPC resources, and of course to identify the best partners in order to cover all the aspects for our goal, for our aim. So in our case, in this experiment, we have a domain expertise, which is BioNTech, our company, end users, which is both BioNTech and another Greek company, I Know How, and an HPC expertise in order to support us to implement all these simulations in HPC, in the HPC. It is very important to identify what you are missing and to cover in the best way your proposal, your project. They were already mentioned in a previous presentation that you have to pay attention in the impact in order to show the impact in your companies and to how your company is going to benefit from the outcome of this experiment. You have to define a clear exploitation plan to provide the innovation of your idea and to justify all the resources, and of course to show that the consortium is all the partners are needed to implement this project. So our project started, our experiment started the 1st of June last month. And as I told you, we are 2 SMEs and 1 HPC center, the expert, the GRNet. And until now, we are doing the first tests in the HPC in order to benchmark our methodology and our software in the HPC center. This is an overview of our implementation. There are 3 main tasks. Now we are in task 1, where we have to design the simulations and to standardize that they can be executed in the HPC. Then we have the creation of the simulated dosimetry database, which is going to take the most time of the experiment, almost 12 months. We are going to use the HPC in order to develop this large database. And the third task, which is mainly the expertise of the other company, the other SME, I know how, is to develop the prediction model, and they have all the expertise to make this tool a clinical validated software tool. So after the project, we aim to go to the market with an impact in several sections like the economy, social, research, and of course for the two SMEs. The need, a few words, why we need to implement these simulations in HPC. In this experiment, we described that we are going to use 25 pediatric models, like the ones shown in the video here. And we are going to use at least 5 common radiopharmaceuticals, which leads to at least 500 simulations. Each simulation in a single CPU could last, let's say, 3-4 weeks. It is very time consuming. And of course, we are going to try the implementation of the training algorithms in the HPC. And this is the final goal of the software. This is what we want to implement with high accuracy. So the clinician is going to see something like this. He is going to put some characteristics of the patient, like the age, the gender, the height, weight, etc. And by submitting, he could visualize a dosimetry map of the patient, and he could extract a PDF with the doses per organ for this specific patient. And lastly, before closing, I would like to share with you just a few thoughts. For many years, since my PhD, I was thinking that in the company, we should have a cluster or something in order to implement such simulations. And I was trying to find funding on how to have this infrastructure in the company, but I realized that it is totally wrong. There are HPC centers in order to provide resources and support your methodologies. So I totally changed my mind, and now what I try to do in the company is to have access in such opportunities. And what I see is that HPC could be used in the daily use of the companies. More or less, we are all familiar with the cloud-based tools, and we are using cloud document sharing, etc. I think that HPC is something similar for the developers of the companies and for the R&D of the companies, and probably we should think how it could be done in a daily basis, and they could apply their processes directly to an HPC. Of course, we come to the third point here, that how we can find this kind of access in HPC, etc. But this FF4 call is a perfect opportunity. And of course, we need to address how to support internally the expertise that is needed in order to do such methodologies in HPC. Usually, there is support from the HPC center, so you don't need something very, very demanding in terms of expertise. And I'd like to thank the two partners of these experiments, the iKnowHow and GRNet, that we have a great collaboration, and Of course, the Gate collaboration is the network that supports the simulations, the Gate platform. And of course, the FF4 and the Heroes for this event. If you have any questions, I would be pleased to answer, or you could have my email and access me, whatever. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much, Panagiotis. Very interesting. I keep the fact that the procedures for applying to Fortissimo for EuroHPC were very simple, and the procedure were simple. And with this, I think we came to an end. I want to thank everybody, to thank Arctur and the FF4EuroHPC for helping us disseminating to Greek innovative SMEs who use advanced computing in Greece. I want to thank all colleagues from the consortium of the EuroCC. We expect any kind of questions by contacting us, and that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was nice. Excellent. Thank you.